So today we are talking
Here we go.
in part 3 of our Angels and Demons series. We're going to smash some things together and see where we go. But we're going to talk about aliens, ghosts, and magic.
Invitation.
Which part of Jetsons is any of those things?
They're in outer space, right? Oh, that's the future.
So let's talk about aliens first. First of all, do angels and demons have anything to do with aliens? And secondly, maybe actually first, do aliens exist or could they exist according to the Bible?
Okay.
All right, so I think we should introduce ourselves and our guest a little bit here. Although you're going to put the names up, so we do it anyway. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's a good idea.
Chad still, and I think you're still Joe. So who's this guy?
I am Joe. This is my brother,
Benj.
Benj. That's right. He is also a huge nerd and loves talking about this stuff. So we brought him on for the nerdiest of the Angels and Demons episodes. So,
Yep.
so what? Back to aliens. Okay. First of all,
So why are we coupling this, the UFO alien thing, ghosts with angels and demons? Why are we putting these things together?
Well, I think that we're doing that because so angels and demons and ghosts and aliens, when you're talking about the paranormal, if you go and listen to a paranormal radio show or something, these are always things that are put together. You know, they'll have someone on that's an expert in ghosts. They'll have someone on that's an expert in demons. They'll have someone, so they're kind of in the same category. So that when, if you just take a look in the Bible, like there's no mention of aliens in the Bible,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Other than people that are from other countries, which is a technical term for aliens.
I don't think that's PC these days. I think you just broke the rules.
I don't. It's just
They
a
can't
word.
be illegal
but
persons.
that's
they
what
can't
the
be
word
aliens. They
is.
have to be.
But that is what the word means.
Right.
Like space aliens is just somebody from a different planet.
Right.
Mhm.
So when we're talking about aliens, we're talking specifically about intelligent life forms from other planets. So first of all, is that in the Bible? No.
No.
Now, unless you say that angels and demons are from another planet.
Yeah, but I think
Okay.
even, we have to go full nerd and say they're not from another planet. Are they from a different realm?
Yeah, from a
Yes.
different dimension
Absolutely.
of reality.
Dimension, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
yes, that coincides with ours.
Mhm.
Where they're here, but we can't see them.
Well, in the Bible, they do call it the heavens, all the space, and the angels and demons came from the heavens. So
So
you could argue that.
okay, so aliens from another planet. Okay, we're talking about intelligent life forms. Something.
So not
that could,
not necessarily interdimensional beings. We're talking about beings, physical beings in our dimension, but not from the planet Earth.
yes. So is there a possibility that we could go to Pluto? And that there would
Mine
be
sounds
aliens. It's my phone. Just leave it alone. There were aliens
one. There's
on
always one
Pluto, and they would be Plutonians. And there are some life form that are intelligent and like humans, and that we could communicate in some way to them.
Would they be radioactive like plutonium?
Also,
Yes.
Pluto's not a planet.
Yes, they would.
Let's
my
get
Oh, it
Welcome
was.
to the show, Benj. Good job.
It was, and then it wasn't, and then it was,
Well, isn't it technically a dwarf planet?
and then it
So
wasn't.
It's still a planet.
Yeah, they call it.
But it's a different category.
Yeah,
So there are 8 planets,
because if
and then
Pluto
aren't
was a
there other
planet,
things in the Kuiper Belt that are now considered like in the same class as
yeah,
Pluto?
because if you called Pluto a planet, there's multiple asteroids that you'd have
The only
to call.
Kuiper I know is the philosopher. Sorry.
Okay.
Abraham Kuiper.
Yeah.
Okay. So, according to the Bible, what do you guys think? Do you think that we could, there could be aliens, based on what we know of the Bible? Even though there's no mention of it, I mean, does that leave the possibility open? I'm gonna turn off my phone. Is there a possibility that there could be aliens in the Bible? That's the question. Who wants to go first?
I could give what my theory would be with the whole alien thing. So I've noticed that a lot more people have been like believing in aliens recently, and thinking that they must be real. There's so many planets, there has to be aliens, kind of goes along with the whole evolutionist thing. And I just think that that actually might be a ploy of the enemy, of demons, because they could pose themselves as aliens, and when the rapture happens, they could claim it was aliens. That way, people won't believe.
Wow.
In the spiritual realm.
Do you remember
even when it
Spirit Blade?
happens.
Do you remember the
Oh, yeah, I do remember
Spirit Blade,
Blade.
the audio drama? It's a Christian sci-fi audio drama, and it literally has that premise.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is what I know. That's
But the premise of that is very similar. It's that in the future, demons actually come and contact humanity as this alien race, and then they start,
And they
influencing the human race.
And they use all their knowledge of the human world to help humans, to make them believe that they're benevolent.
Yeah.
right, and you're not making the claim that that's biblical. This is just a theory.
Yeah.
I think it's plausible. I think why Satan is the father of lies. Why wouldn't he manipulate mystical beliefs or fictional beliefs of human beings, things that we've made up, and manipulate those to his benefit? Of course he would.
Yeah. And I mean, there has to be, when the rapture does happen, people are going to still not believe.
And that's the next episode.
Right.
Millennialism. Does the rapture happen? How will the rapture happen?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is a big debate. But if it happens, or when, it would, it would be a way to cover up that whole lie with a lie.
So here's my problem with aliens and the Bible, and why I don't believe that we'll ever find aliens. The Bible is clear on the creation account. It's he talks about the earth and the heavens and all these things that were created, and everything besides the earth and the sun and the moon are kind of grouped into one thing, right. Just as and so whereas we only have the creation account for earth, and it's very specific. We have that humans were created. We have and the biggest thing for me is if there was intelligent life forms out there, are they covered by Jesus' sacrifice, or are they not? Because the Bible is very clear that Jesus died once. It seems very specific for humanity. And and so how I feel is it doesn't really make sense to me that there would be another planet, and people think that, oh, well, Jesus or God could do that on another planet. Sure, but why? And and it would have been his choice to create that and do the same thing twice or in a different way.
Now, or what's interesting is once you start going down this multiple planet, I don't want to say multiverse because it's something really different, but kind of this multi-planet idea, and how far out in the universe, how far away could intelligent life be? If you dabble in and explore Mormon theology at all, you've really touched on quite a bit of Mormon theology. The idea that there's different gods of different planets, that Christ was just a god of this planet, and
well, and it really stems from, are there aliens? It really stems from the idea of evolution anyway. Yeah. Because if there's this infinite number of planets, just quadrillions of planets, couldn't there be another one that had the right amount of water? And the sun was the right distance away, and all these different things to make life. Well, if our planet was created with evolution, sure. But if it wasn't, if God created everything and it didn't come about from evolution, then God would have to specifically create life on another planet.
Although, along with that, even if you're going with the evolution thing, for a Goldilocks planet, that's a planet that can sustain life. For a Goldilocks planet to exist, it's about a 1 in 600 sextillion chance, and there aren't that many planets within the known universe.
Right.
And then on top of that, for that exact planet to also have produced life, that's another.
And then for your
astronomical odds.
For your astronomers and your astrophysicists and things that are going to be the atheist or agnostic or militant atheist against Christianity. I'm thinking of one specific person, Lawrence Krauss, at ASU. they would then say, well, we just haven't discovered that yet. We haven't gotten that far yet. And to me, I'd say that you're going to claim that our faith is silly. That requires even more faith. I think to say, well, yeah, potentially, maybe, like you said, sextillion, this uncalculable, really incomprehensible number. We have to reach that first, and then it could be another billion years of humanity before we even get that close to being that far.
And the universe is expanding at a rate faster than the speed of light. So we will never know more than the known universe. It's impossible unless you can travel faster than light. So,
which Einstein said, nope.
Yeah, exactly. So unless you're arguing with Einstein,
space around you using dark matter.
Yeah, dark bubble,
there's no limit to how fast you can warp space.
We have gone off the nerd cliff.
So the real question is, even if there was life on another planet, I don't think that would be intelligent.
Well, but here's the thing. We let's bring it back to the biblical, what we know about from the Bible, right? We see in multiple different places that, correct me if I'm wrong, it's when God is speaking to Abraham and he'll have generations more than the stars, and so if you look at how God is communicating these things. There's no necessarily it's not necessary that in the story of up to Christ and God's relationship with the Israelites that he would have to tell us about life on other planets, but it seems that he mentions the stars and the heavens and the stars and the heavens in multiple different places, but never once mentions the people there, right? Or the things there. They're never mentioned. Not saying they have to be, but I don't know.
The possibility in my mind that, let's say there is life on other planets and they are intelligent like we are, I think that what we would find is that they would probably have our scriptures.
I think so.
That Jesus's death and resurrection was also for them. But again, that's such a stretch. I don't think that's a thing. But I feel like
because we know that our fall cursed all of creation, like it directly says that in the Bible.
Yes.
So if there are other planets with life on them, then they
would
were
be
cursed
by
because of our fault.
Yep.
So, like, unless Jesus also went to that planet, as a being of theirs, like it would have to have been when Jesus died here that he also fixed their curse. It like, I don't know, it just seems like a mess. Not saying God can't
and that
do it,
that goes back to the question, why?
Right.
Why would God do that? If we can look at our history and all the ways that God related to us and through the Israelites in the Old Testament, choosing his people, and then in the New Testament with Jesus and all these different things that happened, you can see like the tapestry that God was weaving the whole time, and you can see
then you have to
his
ask
plan,
yourself.
and then to have something else in that. The question is, why would God do that? And if there was, then there would have to be a reason.
And to me, this also, you start walking down the path of opening the doctrine of Imago Dei, right? The image of God. If Scripture tells us that we are made in the image of God, the spiritual image of God, anything outside of humanity is not made in the image of God,
right?
And that falls under creation.
And that's the difference between us and animals,
right? And angels and every other created being.
I was watching
we're different.
An elephant painting an elephant the other day.
Interesting.
Which was insane to watch, but no matter the intelligence or what's going on, they're not created in the image of God.
Right.
They do not have eternal spirits that like we do, which is what we were made in the image of God of. And
I don't know. I mean, if we really start hitting the outer rings of theology and saying, pure speculation, going beyond pure speculation to, like, I don't know what the word would be, but in pure speculation, saying, okay, well, could there be another planet inhabited by humanoid or humans, right? So I can unpack the Mandalorian box, right? So humans, right, that are just different kinds of humans, that God created on a different planet. Could God exist in multiple planes of time across light years? Of course he can. If he created it, he could be there. Could Christ have been in two places at once in his human form? No. He can't do that. He was, if he's fully human, humans cannot be in two different existences at the same time or same place.
Well, the Bible is specific that Christ died once for all.
Yeah.
So he didn't die again on another planet, even if he was in a different form, in this different humanoid form, he wouldn't be dying again on that planet. It's because he still is the same. It's the same person, that the lamb that was slain before the foundations of the world. Also, when you go into the creation account, unless there's another creation account that we don't know about, and by the way, Jesus is the one who created everything. It says that in John, that it says, and he filled the earth, and he did this with the earth, and he did this and this and this. And we know that the earth is very special in the universe. I mean, as far as we have found, which admittedly is not very far that we're able to look, but which we have found nothing even kind of close.
Well, this brings it back to what Ben said a few minutes ago, that if you really start to unpack these ideas and go down, if you watch it's on YouTube, there's other videos out there of the there's a video series that Mormons show in the temple that is essentially the creation account, and in that creation account, God says to Michael,
I think it's called God Makers.
Is that what it's called? That
God says an animated like documentary thing. I think it's called God.
Well, then no, there's it's not there's real actors and stuff in it, but it's
no, and yeah, I know, but it also has some animations.
Right. Well, like God is speaking to Michael, right? Who and Lucifer and Jesus and apparently I think if I remember correctly, it's either Peter and John or Paul and John. I don't remember. Implying that they're pre-incarnate as well, which is not close to being true.
It's called the God Makers.
Yeah, and so if you watch this, their account of creation, God says to Christ and to Michael, "Let's go create the earth like we did before." Right, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Is Mormon theology saying that this has been done before? It's in a different time, in a different whatever it is. There's multiple planets that have been created with multiple races of humans, and that is Mormon theology. That's exactly what it is. And like you said, if Satan was going to use human speculation and beliefs and twist them into something, makes sense.
I mean, also, like, according to the Bible, like, lots of people speculate about aliens in the Bible. Even non-Christians do, because they believe that the pyramids were built by aliens, because there's no way that people could have done that, although over different years and different things, people have different theories about how they did it, just humans.
But it's awfully arrogant to think that the engineering capabilities and the mathematic abilities that we have today only exist today, and that we're only getting better, and it removes the potential that ancient societies could have been mathematitions and engineers.
Well, just we know that they were.
Right.
Yeah.
And then once I think that we've lost a lot of, you take a carpenter, nowadays, and you take away all of his tools, he's going to have a lot of trouble, doing the things that carpenters did hundreds of years ago with a hammer and nails and a handsaw. All the techniques that they learned, because that's what they had, that's what their father did. We lose a lot of that. But
doesn't mean it was impossible.
Right. One example of how we misunderstand how developed they actually were, they found cocaine in the mummified remains of Egyptians, but that plant only grows in America. So they were able to sail boats to America and back to trade with the Mayans or Aztecs or whoever. And we just assumed that they didn't have boats capable of doing that.
Well, that's because we
clearly did.
I mean, if we're going to really admit we have an Anglo-centric history, we really do. I mean, because we're European descendants, so that's where the majority of the history taught in this country comes from. And we don't look at
that's true. I mean, we take American history, and you might have American history 1, 2, 3, and then you spend an equal amount of time on the rest of the world, right? Then you have world history, and we're talking about one country versus hundreds,
And that one country has only existed for like 300 years.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's.
How much history is out there?
I was watching a history on Japan the other day, and it was so overwhelming because I had like no context of all these different histories, and they just go through all these dynasties and everything. Super interesting. I retained nothing. But going back to aliens, in their drawings and different things in the pyramids, there's very often people with cone-shaped heads. And this elongated thing. There's also, they believe that different pharaohs were, their head was actually shaped like that, and they revered them as gods and different things. So lots of people think that it was either aliens that came down and either started another bloodline, or they were regarded as royalty, or that it's the we already talked about this as the Nephilim, which we don't believe this is how it was, but the Nephilim, the descendants of the Nephilim would have a different shaped head.
And we're also, again, looking at modern history under the lenses of what we know today, right? We really don't know. I mean, this is not my thinking. I read this somewhere and I don't remember where, but Neanderthal, right? If we look at the physical features of Neanderthal, and we look at the larger ears, the larger forehead, if you were to extrapolate and walk out what a 900-year-old man looked like,
with ears and nose and
it's not
different
implausible
things
to
that
say
don't
that
stop growing.
those things grow. That we don't, if we're going to live to 900 years, that means that our DNA there's going to be a different growth pattern and a different growth time. We'd say puberty. Well, for a 900-year-old human, was puberty at 200? And did it last 50 years, 100 years? We don't know.
Yeah,
right. So that's where what I'm getting at is that it could be the same thing with prehistoric man. Could we have grown differently? You know that when a child comes out of the birth canal, you're born with kind of a cone head, right? And it has to be shaped into the heads that we have now. Maybe they didn't shape them. Maybe they just left it, and it grew into a cone head. I mean, we don't know, and they just there's no record of it. So there's no. All we have to do is speculate.
I mean, it could have just been a deformity as well that was passed down from generation to generation.
And these people were like
because that kind of stuff happens today. I mean, there are people that are differently shaped, and that happens. So it could have just been that, and that was regarded as being touched by the gods or something.
And there could have been a chromosomal defect. You think Down syndrome. These people could have been larger. They could have been stronger. They could have had different senses that were different, that were more attuned than maybe their sense of smell or their vision or their hearing was just better because of genetic anomalies that have, through microevolution, disappeared. Like those are gone because there were so few of them, and they were some were killed in some cultures and others were revered in different cultures. I mean, there's whole
Our genetics have broken down quite a bit since back then, so it's hard to say what gene could have mutated to cause deformities that don't exist anymore because we don't have that gene.
And how did those deformities manifest? We have no idea.
All right. So I'm going to make an executive decision. We're going to end this episode with just aliens, and then we're going to do other ones on ghosts and magic because we're already going to go
So what that means
long.
to our viewers and people who don't know the inner workings of the YouTube universe, what that means is we're going to pause, talk off camera, change our clothes, and then come back.
I probably won't even change my clothes. We'll just make it multiple parts.
We'll just switch clothes between the three of us.
But so to give some semblance of an answer, let's all three give our answer about do we think it's possible that there's aliens, and do we think that there are?
No.
So, okay, well, I'll go first. Do I think it's a possibility within the realm of possibility? It's a yes, but I would say, do I believe that there are aliens based on the evidence that we've seen in the Bible? No. I would definitely argue that there aren't aliens, but I don't think that the Bible would be ruined or anything that if there were. That's my thought. What do you think?
My opinion is if we did discover evidence of aliens or aliens themselves, it would more likely than not be a lie of Satan or demons than the truth. But it would not destroy the Bible if it was true. Like, I mean, the Bible doesn't talk about it enough to ruin my entire belief because we discovered it.
So do you think that there are aliens?
I do not think there are aliens.
Okay.
But the possibility, technically exists.
So I think twofold. I think, no, I don't think there are aliens. But if they did exist, I don't think they're going to be Imago Dei. I don't think they would be humanoid. I think they would be more microorganisms, or they would be animals, right? Think of like the movie Aliens. Like they would be animals that have just adapted to survive in different environments. I don't think it would affect Scripture, the validity of Scripture at all. I think actually the flip side of that, and I want to say it was Krauss, was asked this question specifically in a debate that I watched, that if we did discover another sentient species on a different planet light years away, and they were humanoid, and they handed you a set of their Scriptures and it was identical to ours, would you then believe it? And his answer was no. That's the definition of a hardened heart. I mean, I think if they were similar to us and they handed us something that was a similar account but different, then we'd have a lot of questions. But I don't think that'll ever happen.
So anyway, that's our answer. That's what we think
Nope.
About aliens. So don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next part about ghosts.
Back to where we started.